Hi people, sorry about my English, it's not my native language, but I figured trying to do this in English would help out more people who are on the edge of buying the TM Racing or not. When I was on the edge of buying it, there was not much to find about the bike in English, especially compared to the KTM 350 platform, which probably is the most sought four-stroke dirt bike in the world. So I just went on and bought the TM anyways, and tried to figure it out on my own. So I wanted to talk about a few subjects on the bike, mainly the engine, the frame, the handling, the suspension and the maintenance on the bike. I tested both bikes on multiple different soil types and types of riding. So I did some single track in the hills, which were hardpack, I did some sand and the MX track. Let's start off with the engine. I thought at first the TM is going to be a screamer, being a 304 stroke. Well, that isn't the case at all. The KTM 350 engine revs 1000 RPM more. But the biggest difference would be the way the power is produced. The TM revs up quite a bit slower, but it's way smoother and more torquey doing it. This meaning you have to shift less on the TM. Coming out of a corner it picks up really easy and smooth, and it's still very powerful. It's very linear to the end of the rev range, which for me is one of the best points of the whole engine. It's more like a 450 power wise, but it's way easier to handle. The downside, on the other hand, is in the tight single tracks it feels like the rotating mass in the engine is pushing you through the berm a bit easier, making it easier to blow the berm out. And with that you will lose time if it would be a competition. This is something that takes a little bit of getting used to. The KTM engine is more lively and easier to maneuver around at first. This also has a but to it. The KTM engine is more prone to stall. The TM is a bit more of a tractor in that perspective. So the differences seems to be due to the rotating mass that both engines use in a different way, to its own benefit. It's more a matter of what a rider preference would be. There's also a big difference in the way the transmission seems to work. Due to the engine characteristic, the TM seems to have longer gears. The Gasgas or KTM engine seems to have shorter gears. On my local MX track, I tend to do the whole track in third on the TM, where on the Gasgas I'm shifting between third and fourth, and sometimes I have to go back to second in the slowest corners. I'm faster on the TM because you get more time to focus on the corner itself instead of shifting and braking. There's also quite a difference in the way you release the clutch. The clutch on the Gasgas and my former Husky felt quite hesitant and a little bit shaky. When releasing on the TM it's very smooth. I tend to use the clutch a lot less on the TM because the bike is more torquey. It must be said that on both bikes I don't run the stock gearing. I changed it to my own liking on the TM right now. I run 2 tooth more in the back. The throttle reaction on the TM is also more direct and more smooth, while the Gasgas, even with the GET ECU, seems to be a little bit hesitant for a split second. Let's talk about the chassis. The two couldn't be more different. While the Gasgas is quite flexible and very comfortable, the TM is more racing and stiff. The TM gives you more confidence to push and feels way lighter turning into the corner. This is due to the frame and the position of the fuel tank in the rear of the bike, just like a Yamaha. On the other hand, the TM is more prone to ruts. The front wheel seems to be less stable because there is less weight on the front end. You have to ride it more precise, but when you do, the bike keeps giving you more confidence. Being less stable doesn't mean sketchy or unstable, you just get more input throughout handlebars. Some of these inputs you can just deny, and with some you have to do something about it. This is something you have to get used to. But when you do and you are more committed to the line you're on, the bike works very good. Both of the bikes are very stable at high speed. You are not getting a lot of head shake or stuff like that. The biggest plus point for me on the Gasgas of the Husky is when I'm riding in the sand, it's easier to maneuver between ruts. If you think like, I don't like this rut, I want to move over to that one, it just lets you do it very easily. Taking these points together, both bikes ride rather differently and wanted to be driven different. On all my former bikes, except the 2018 Husqvarna, weirdly enough, I was terrible at riding the inside line in a corner. I always opted for the long way around. The TM really helped me out to do the inner line, and even now when I take the Gasgas out, I'm more confident to ride the inside line in a corner because of the TM. The TM is still my preferred choice for the more motocross stuff of riding. Rider triangle on both bikes is about the same, but the TM has more ground clearance, which also means the handlebar, the seat and the pegs are a little bit higher up. The TM feels a bit shorter when you ride it and more nimble, even though the measurements are about the same. The Brembo brake and the clutch on the TM work better than the vertex stuff on the Gasgas. The TM has a 9mm brake and clutch perch, which are very light to use, which results in less fatigue and less arm pump. The stiffness of the frame does fatigue you a little bit more though. Suspension wise, both of the bikes are rather the same in this case. I'm running the KYB cartridges in the WP forks of the Gasgas right now. The stock WP shock has also been resprung and revalved to work with the KYB cartridges. The TM comes stock with KYB SSS forks and a TM shock, which is a very close replica of a alien shock, with some KYB influences according to my suspension tuner, who also revalved the TM his suspension. The stock suspension settings on the TM are way better than what the Gasgas comes stock with. I was comfortable enough to run the stock TM suspension on our National Enduro series, which I would have never done on stock WP Explore stuff. Having both bikes resprung and revalved by the same guy for my weight and my skill level, which isn't that good I must say, I can run the TM a little bit softer setting-wise to counteract the stiffness of the frame, which gives back a little bit of the loss and comfort. Also the stock triple clamps of the TM are way better than the Gasgas clamps. On the Gasgas I run the X-Trix because the stock cast clamps, they seem to tweak quite easy when you tip over. TM does give you the option between a solid upper triple clamp and a triple clamp with rubber bushings, so the vibrations get dampened just like the Japanese bike used to have. I took the second one, which gives you also the opportunity to turn around the bar mounts, so you have two different bar positions. The downfall is the bar gets tweaked from time to time after a crash. I do find it easier to ride with a tweaked bar than tweaked clamps, because in that case the suspension isn't working properly. For the do-it-yourself people out there, the maintenance is not unimportant. I like to do all of the maintenance myself, except for the suspension. Being a mechanical engineer by trade, I'm always curious how something is put together. I do like the fact that TM makes 90% of the parts in-house, but how is it to work on the bike itself? Both of the bikes are really easy to work on. The bolts and the nuts are really easy to reach. Disconnecting the electrics are also easy. On the chassis you will need to counterhold some of the nuts on the TM. The engine is very well put together and it's very easy to take apart on both bikes. Unfortunately enough, I suffered what could be a catastrophic engine failure on both of the bikes. The Gasgas lost all of its compression at around 90 hours and I had to rebuild the whole engine. I must say I was racing in very dusty conditions and somehow the dust got sucked right through the filter, not around it but right through the middle. On the TM it's a little bit of a different case. After 30 hours of riding I felt the bike started to dive a little bit after releasing the throttle and it seemed to lose power, so I rode back to the van and I discovered everything was covered in oil. So the next day I took the engine apart and I found out that the piston was almost split in half. Luckily the cylinder is still good, but I have to replace the piston. I find this a little bit weird because all of the maintenance so far has been done on time. Changing the oil I do very frequently. I put in a new filter for every ride, so I don't really know how this could have happened. I'm currently talking to the dealer how this could have happened and in how far they or TM are willing to help out as in warranties. I don't expect much, but if they do, it would be nice. I do think that the piston wasn't forged properly myself. I don't think the bike is to blame. I honestly feel like it's a failure that could have happened to any bike at any time. It's a little bit unfortunately it happened to me right now. I have had a similar problem on a Beta RR350 once, and I also know people who have had the same issue on their KTMs. But still, it's a little bit unfortunate. The electric seems decent so far. I haven't had any issues. The normal stuff like changing the oil is very easy on both of the bikes and everybody can do it. The air filter on the TM is a little bit finicky. I do not recommend driving this mid-race. Just put an extra cover on it and when it's needed just take the cover off, because it's very easy to get dirt in the suction tube. Because of the placement of the air filter right above the throttle body, like a Yamaha. It's placed where normally the gas cap would be. So the conclusion so far. Even though the KTM might be ready to race, the TM is more ready to race in stock form. Power-wise, the Gasgas might have a little bit of an edge over the TM on top, but the TM has more grunt down low. Where the Gasgas starts to bark and later on drives you forward, the TM will be more direct and starts taking off immediately. The Gasgas is overall a bit more comfortable and will suit any rider at any time. The TM, however, is a bit more of a race bike. It wants to be pushed, and when you do, it's very easy to ride. If you want to cruise around, it will feel a little bit stiff. I really do like the way the TM looks and the parts that are used. The stock exhaust is made by HGS and the twin mufflers are a nice touch. It also sounds really nice in person, even though on camera it sounds a bit slow however. The Brembo front brake and the Nissin rear brakes are working really good on the TM. I personally like the suspension a lot more than the WP Explore. The Gasgas is a bit more fuel efficient, but both bikes will do 100 kilometers on a tank of fuel in normal riding condition. Racing is a different story, but in the French hills, doing single enduro tracks, both bikes are fine. Overall, I like the TM a little bit better than I do the Gasgas. I also spent less money on the TM than I have on the Gasgas, plus the options to make it feel the way I want it to feel. So in this case, I guess for me the TM is the better bike. If you do have any questions, just put a comment in and I try to answer them.